Sorry. All right. Yeah. This browser for some reason always goes back to default to the wrong mic. Sorry about that. Anyway, Reuters reports Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump was safe Sunday after the Secret Service foiled what the FBI called an apparent assassination attempt while he was golfing on his course in West Palm Beach. The suspect left an AK-47 style assault rifle and other items at the scene and fled in a vehicle but was later arrested. Apparently, the Secret Service didn't manage to hit him when they fired on him. He didn't fire. Sounds good. Thank you. Got to do more. Sorry about that. We're just going to send out an invite right now. Copy that invite. Sending out an invite to CB if you're there. And it's on the way. So we'll just try this. No pressure. All right, I'll keep an eye out for you if you turn up. It's not clear how the suspect knew Trump was playing golf at the time, but the attempted attack was sure to raise new questions about the level of protection he is given. CNN, Fox News, and the New York Times identified the suspect as Ryan Wesley Ruth, 58, of Hawaii, citing unnamed law enforcement officials. Reuters found profiles on X, Facebook, and LinkedIn for a Ryan Ruth who appeared to be the man. Reuters was not able to confirm these were the suspect's accounts. Yeah, so his accounts are out there. You may have seen them. I think he's still on X. Let's see. And he's, an apparent crazy, and his opinions are all over the place. This is him. Here it is. Okay, here he is, crazy smile and all. I don't know how crazy people get to live in Hawaii, right? And I'm living here. All right, and I think I'll see if my guest turns up right here. All right. Look to your email, sir, if you're watching. So he was all over Twitter. Somebody had already had him identified. Somebody was already sharing his crazy feed on Twitter. And the libs are all over it because the guy's opinions are all over the place, apparently. All right. Well, welcome to the show. I don't know if you want me to use your name, sir. You can use an alias if you want.
I think my name's on the screen right now.
Oh, okay. Welcome, Cam.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Cam's from elsewhere in the Pacific Northwest.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's so much better to have somebody here to talk to. Have you been following the news? Do you see?
I just got caught up on it right as you were getting a hold of me. I don't even know what time this happened at, but do you know what time it happened?
I think it was 1:30 on the East Coast, so that would be, I guess, about 4:30 our time.
Okay.
Just happened, yeah. And here's the crazy guy. I don't know if you can see the screen. Here's the guy, and he looks pretty wacky.
Yeah. I saw another photo of him with his shirt off on the news, and he looked pretty wacky there too. Yeah, that smile and those eyes.
Yeah, right.
Yep, there it is.
There he is. Apparently, that's him getting arrested. They shot at him, but didn't hit him. And yeah, his opinions are all over the place, but he's pretty much really into Ukraine, and he was there in Ukraine. Somehow these crazy people have money, I mean, he traveled to Ukraine. He traveled maybe to Iran or somewhere, and he was trying to recruit people from Afghanistan, like the NATO trained, the Afghan soldiers who were awful, got their ass kicked by the Taliban, but he was trying to recruit Afghans and take them to Ukraine to fight, on behalf of Ukraine. That's his story. And the libs are all over X saying, well, he's a conservative because his opinions are all over. Like he was supposedly a fan of Nikki Haley, and at the same time, I think he is. I don't know if he's pro-Israel. No, he's pro-Palestinian. So I saw that some people were saying, okay, that makes him a lib. But he's also like really pro Nikki Haley. I don't know if you know, Nikki Haley's like a total neocon, and she's really behind Israel in the war. So I don't know. The guy's opinions are all over, but he made a lot of political donations all to Democrats. And he has a record. Here's his record. Driver's license revoked twice. Concealed weapon. Motor vehicle violation. Another concealed weapon violation. Hit and run. He has a lot of trouble with driving. His driver's license has been revoked several times. Yeah. I've lost your audio. I can't hear you, sir. Can you guys hear Cam? Damned audio. Let's see if it's my fault. Hello, Cam.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Our viewers will let us know if they can't hear you. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying something, I'm sure.
No, it sounds like this guy fits the bill. I remember, what was that guy who shot up a grocery store, predominantly black grocery store? Do you remember that one? And they tried to
Yeah,
paint
I
him
think
as
I do.
some alt-right type of figure. But he was also like a socialist. And I think what you see with these types of guys is logical inconsistency with their ideology. Like they're just all over the
Yeah.
map. They're back and forth. They don't know what to believe. They'll spend time in far right area, far left area, everything in between.
Yeah, and it strikes me that he picked up above all on the anti-Trumpist area, right? And it's just at the time that they were trying to make Ohio. You see what's going on with the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, right?
Yeah.
And they had just taken up like 2 days ago. Oh my God, J.D. Vance and Trump are talking about the dogs and cats in Ohio, and they're stochastic terrorism. They're encouraging terrorists.
Oh yeah, the stochastic terrorism. I love that
Yeah.
one.
Well, this guy would seem to be just that. Just fit the bill for that. You know what I mean? Here's this crazy guy who's just grasping for things,
Yeah.
and he picked up above all, I think, on the anti-Trump craziness.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out how long he felt this way, or if he kind of just went into a state of mania and this is the thing that he centered on for a
Right.
while. But I mean, this is just going to keep happening. There's so many crazy people who are so gaslit on Trump,
Yeah.
who are willing to do stuff like this, and the fact that it happened again, and he was so susceptible again, is it's hard to believe that they would be playing like this with, like, where are all the people that are coming after Kamala Harris?
Right. Yeah. Somebody pointed that out. There's no trouble for Kamala Harris. There was no trouble for Biden, right? Because you would think there would be some, right? I mean, to me, it doesn't change my mind Like, you know what I mean? If somebody did go after Harris, it wouldn't. I think it's stupid for like, oh, I'm going to change all my opinions because there's some crazy guy out there, right?
Yeah, I think
Just
there certainly are people who want to kill Kamala Harris, but conveniently she's always protected and is never
yeah,
susceptible to anything like this. And now this has just going to become like a monthly thing up until the election, I guess.
it's yeah, it's scary, and they basically buried the first attempt, right? I mean, it's remarkable how quickly the media just stopped talking about it, right? They don't want to talk about it. And basically, this remarkable thing, an assassination attempt, was pretty much forgotten a week later. In fact, I think Biden quit like just like a week after. And that just kind of moved the assassination completely out of the news cycle,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and he apparently hasn't even made a statement about this attempt yet. He's just going to sit this one out.
Biden?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are theories out there that he's actually pissed off, right? You saw that he put on the MAGA hat, right?
Yeah,
Right?
I
Wasn't
still
that
don't know what's going
crazy?
on with that. Yeah, man, this is wild. What we're seeing right now, just nothing makes sense anymore. It feels like it's some kind of a fever dream.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just the complexity of absurdity within this entire thing is a whole other layer on to what happened today. That it just keeps everything just won't stop getting weirder.
Yeah. And, with this guy, the first guy, it's easy to think of that first guy, Crooks, as being manipulated deliberately, like somebody maybe encouraging him or not. But this guy, so far, it's very early, but it looks like this is a guy that nobody needed to encourage. They just need to put this out there. That's why I say it's so funny they talk about so-called stochastic terrorism when what they're doing is they're just putting it out there and just inviting every crazy in this great big country full of crazies to take it up, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of open season. It's really weird how accessible it is. Like you can kind of just go and try to take your shot at uh, the Republican nominee right now if you want to. It wouldn't be that hard to come up with a plan
No.
to see ahead of time what his schedule is, be at the right place at the right time. And I mean, uh, gosh, the implications for the Secret Service on this at this point are just astounding.
You
It's
think
such
so?
a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it almost makes you think like they're in on it or something. Um, it's
Yeah.
unless it's just sheer incompetence, which could be.
Or yeah, like the first time around, it could have just been that they left Trump vulnerable by reducing his protection, right? Putting the DEI hires in charge there, right?
Right. Yeah.
A story broke the other day that I think it was a woman in charge of the crew there at that first assassination attempt, and she sucked at training and was failing, was rocking out of training, but they pushed her along for
Of course.
DEI purposes.
Of
And this is
course.
the person that they assigned to Trump.
Yeah, so it's sort of like not directly conspiratorial, but just setting up the
Yeah,
parameters of the logistics of the Secret Service so as to provide maximum
yeah,
protection to one candidate and minimum protection to the other.
yeah. And then just hammering away at this at the themes, right? He's a threat to democracy. He's the
Yeah,
worst thing ever.
yeah. Minimize the safety, maximize potential threats, gaslight, gaslight, gaslight.
Yeah, and just beating the drums. Yeah, and inviting people out to try this. I should be surprised that it hasn't happened more often. That we've only had two attempts right now
Yeah, it'll
so
be
far.
interesting to see if there's like a copycat effect manifesting kind of the way we see with school shootings, for example. Like
Yeah,
the coverage of the event itself implores others to do similar things, and now it's just this kind of ricochet effect of psychos taking their shot at him.
Well, you see, and you see, the people on they're shameless. There are, I don't know if you know who Alexander Vindman is, but he's the guy. He actually worked in the Trump administration, and he taped a call. They tried to impeach Trump over some shit with Ukraine because he told Ukraine he was going to withhold some aid over something, and they tried to make a scandal out of it. Alexander Vin, we've got all these Ukrainians somehow in government and elsewhere. Like, you remember the crazy lady they put in charge of some office they established for censorship, and they put a
Like
crazy woman.
the Ministry of Truth lady.
Yeah,
that lady's name.
she's Ukrainian. Yeah, all of a
Oh,
sudden we get
what's the prize?
all of a sudden we've got these Ukrainians. Alexander Vindman was like a lieutenant colonel in the army or something, worked in the administration, tried to backstab Trump. They made a hero out of him. He's running for office somewhere, running for Congress somewhere now, because he made a name in his failed attempt to get Trump. Him and his wife are big anti-Trumpers, and they're on X making jokes like immediately. His wife posted something on Twitter about, some bad joke about the ear, no ears were harmed, ha ha ha, right? These are like prominent people, and they're doing this, what would, the kind of thing that would kill your career in the past, right? I mean, somebody tried to kill someone, and you're going to go joke about it immediately. So it just,
they've really successfully dehumanized him so that the normal
right,
laws of professionalism and standards of reporting don't really apply to
completely
him
gone.
anymore. Yeah, there's this new way of doing things now, where we treat truth and reality as it relates to Trump one way, and then another truth and reality can exist next to that, where they still believe in a reality consensus,
Yeah,
but not when they step into the realm of dealing with Trump.
yeah.
It's an alternative universe. When it
And
comes
by
to
doing
that.
this, what they're doing is encouraging the next guy, I mean, these people are nothing if not impressionable, right? And they're looking up to these assholes, these prominent assholes, and they're thinking, oh no, I mean,
Yeah.
it's whatever shame or whatever hesitance they have to cross the line and do this, it's being wiped out. And I don't know if it's deliberate or it's just that Trump has in fact driven all these people nuts.
Yeah, it begs the question if these guys always existed in this capacity, like in this number, and now they're just kind of lowering the safety net so that
Yeah,
they come out into the open and actually succeed at what it is that they're attempting to do. I'm sure there's been there have to have been. I don't think there's an uptick in the hatred for him. It seems like there's a tick in the safety protocols
yeah,
for
maybe.
ensuring that nothing like this ever even comes close to happening.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm having a hard time deciding if Trump is actually breaking through a little bit with normies, right? Just by virtue of
Yeah.
having been here so long, maybe establishing some sympathy, by virtue of how obviously awful the Democrats are, that, those normies who are just taking it for granted that Trump is evil are kind of, not feeling that way, kind of
Hmm.
thawing out.
Yeah, there's probably also an element too of this is like uh, Trump 2.0. This is the second round. Like they had him and then they lost him, and now he's coming back again, like a sequel to a horror movie for them.
Yeah,
And so that could definitely add enticement to people viewing him as even more of an existential threat than last time. That seems to
yeah,
definitely be part of it. And so maybe there are a lot more of these guys. Maybe there's so many people actively trying to kill him that they just can't even keep up with all of them,
yeah.
because they don't ever
I,
tell it. I don't think they ever tell us about the attempts, right? Like or not the attempts, but like the foiled plans that never
right.
amount to anything. That's probably classified.
And it's always been an assumption that any president or candidate, there are all kinds of crazy people who have designs who don't get very far, right? I mean, they're crazy,
Exactly. Yeah.
and that you never hear about, right? Like
Hmm.
supposedly during Obama's term, there were several cases foiled, which may or may not have been serious attempts, but they were serious enough that the Secret Service or the FBI came around to arrest somebody, you know. But I
Yeah.
think I think what's happening now is Trump is actually breaking through a little, and the establishment, people in power are getting that much more fucking concerned, right? That
Yeah. Yeah. I think uh, they've never had more reasons than now to want him dead. And I don't, it really makes you wonder if they're going to let him back in. I don't, I'm not confident at this point that he's going to make it to November.
yeah, no, I think, and barring an assassination, which they seem to be inviting, they're going to do, yeah, like who is it? Brett Weinstein is out there telling everybody who'll listen that he doesn't think they're going to let him serve again. Like they'll do whatever it takes. They won't honor the election if it comes down to that. They'll just do whatever. What you know what I mean? But they're not going to let him back in the White House. You know, and
Yeah, it does make you wonder if there was some fuckery going on with the 81 million votes, and if they could do that again, why would they? Why would there be an incentive to take him out before that even happened? Or are they thinking maybe
yeah.
that won't work more than
Well, it
once?
has to. Yeah, I mean it. Yeah, that's so funny that people. Nothing makes me write off somebody quicker than if they say, that they're certain, absolutely certain the election wasn't stolen, right? I mean, I understand if people think it probably wasn't, though I think it probably was. I understand that, but to be absolutely certain that it wasn't stolen, to consider it a conspiracy theory, to think that it was stolen, no, I mean, you would have to believe that these people who did for 4 years did everything they could to get rid of this guy would then all of a sudden get honest around the election, right?
Yeah, the Occam's razor is not favoring their explanation of
Right.
things. It's becoming increasingly difficult to explain away. I mean, 81 million votes is an unfathomable number for a guy who is mostly being voted for just because he isn't Trump. To
Yeah.
get for 81 million people to do that, it feels a little, feel at the very least that number feels a little bit uh, unrealistic.
Yeah. And, you said, why? I think what you said before was, why do they lack confidence in their ability to steal it again? I think the problem they have is that it has to be plausible, right? If like Trump gets 75% of the vote or something, right? If he, you know what I mean? If it's just too glaringly obvious that they stole it, they don't want to do it. I think is the problem they have. I think they've got like a margin, like they can fake 10% or something, you know. Like there's this old, because the Democrats supposedly, there's this long held belief that the Democrats always, they have the advantage in cheating, and that they always get like 3 to 5% fake votes. That's been an assumption for a long time. So I think it's limited in how much they can fake, how many fake votes they can produce. I mean, one thing behind perhaps this immigrant invasion, and you see they're trying to get them all registered to vote or get them to vote. One of the things behind it is they're going to have all these people vote. I mean, it's their ability to steal the thing isn't unlimited, is all. So that's why they're freaking out and just pulling out all the stops, you
Yeah,
know.
and if they do take him out, then that allows them to eliminate the problem while also restoring faith in election integrity.
Yeah.
If they take him out through messing with the votes, they still have the problem of nobody believing that they really
Yeah.
won again. And
Yeah.
it's sort of like two birds with one stone to just get rid of him permanently. And then he doesn't have influence over future thought leaders and politicians.
Yeah.
I don't, but at the same time, what a massive clusterfuck this is going to be if somebody kills that guy.
Yeah. That's an interesting question. I mean, are we going to sit still for it? I think we will. I mean, I don't see people taking to the streets over it, though they probably should. But could you, I mean, the only thing, what should happen is if they manage to kill this guy, is that, I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to vote for him. I'm kind of soured on him, frankly, but people should take to the streets, man. Washington should be besieged by people just filling the streets. I can't see that happening. Or we do it and they make it out to be another insurrection, and that is the excuse for clamping down finally on us.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of ways it could go. It's totally unpredictable. And it's, you can't even keep up with everything that's happening with this election at this point.
Yeah.
It feels like purposefully demoralizing. Like we're just getting constantly hammered with craziness. It definitely feels like the ball is being dropped in multiple arenas within this this cabinet and all of the people that they're working with. There just seems to be gross incompetence in the government right now.
Oh yeah. I mean, or malice. I mean, when
Yeah.
you look at the border, it's deliberate, right? And it's so funny. You can't even, they think it's extreme for us to point us out, or just say replacement theory, supposedly. And they're just openly doing it, like with the Haitian thing in Springfield. Did you see the video that some anti-Trump guy made a video? Maybe I can find it. Made a song. He mixed a song.
Oh, the cat song.
The cat song. And all the Trumpers picked it up.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't meme on that guy. It just amplifies it.
Here, let's play it.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
It's so classic.
It's so fucking good, right?
Of the people that live there.
Oh my gosh.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
People of Springfield, please don't eat my cats. Why would you do that? Eat something else. People
I like
of
the shirt.
Springfield, please don't eat my dog. Here's a catalog of other things to eat.
They're eating the dogs.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
They're eating the cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
They're eating the cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
I haven't seen the whole thing.
I think this is a new ad here. Add on.
They're eating the dogs.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
They're eating the cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
They're eating the cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So apparently this guy took it down, but a bunch of people saved it. So, yeah.
Have you watched? So there's a lot, obviously a lot of controversy around who's eating what in Springfield.
Yeah.
But have you watched the clips that are circulating on X of actual Haitians killing
Yeah.
cats? There's one where he's got it by all four legs, and he just starts
Twisting
twisting
it.
its
Yeah. He
head
breaks his neck. Yeah.
like he's opening a can of or a bottle of soda
Yeah.
in front of a little kid.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just wild.
Well, I don't know if they got any from Springfield specifically. People were just throwing up there like some were from other places, but I mean, I think it's brilliant, and I love how JD Vance has been carrying the ball lately. Right? People weren't sure about how he was going to do,
Hmm.
but he's just like, "Hey, fuck you," even if it's not true. You know, these people are disaster for Springfield. You know.
Yeah, and there's 20,000 of them, so
Yeah,
it's like something like 1 in 4 people is a Haitian now
that's
in the
ridiculous.
city.
Yeah.
And still no, I still have no information on who brought them there, how they all ended up there so quickly, or how long it took for them to all get there. But there's a ton of them there. That's a ton of people.
Well, what I guess it's DHS. Mayorkas is the guy in charge of the border, and what he's doing in conjunction with Catholic Charities, Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, and all these people whose business it is bringing these people in, is they're actually recruiting the people on the ground in South America. They just have to make it to Guatemala or wherever the hell these people set up, and they're flying people in. And
Right.
one of the reasons they turn up in a place like Springfield is they probably voted for Trump. So if you voted for Trump and if you're majority white, you're a target, just like they've been doing to Tim Walz's Minnesota for years.
Hmm.
It's like the whitest but very liberal state in the union. So they just started dumping Somalians on them.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that they're all Haitian. Like
Yeah,
you would imagine if this is what they're doing, they're just shipping people.
yeah,
You'd think it would be more of a variety, but this is like
right.
they're not just shipping immigrants in; they're shipping a specific culture in, an isolated culture, a
Hmm.
cohesive culture, where people all
Yes.
speak the same language, they all know each other, they can ally
Hmm.
together and create an instantaneous sense of community.
It's an instant
There,
community of Haitians right there. Yep.
yeah, so that's a lot different than 20,000 random
Yeah.
illegal immigrants from 47 different countries. It's just one
It's,
country. Everybody knows each other. They all speak
yeah.
the same language, and they're bringing a very specific culture, like
Yeah.
head cat head
Yeah.
twisting.
Yeah.
Like
Cat eaters. Yeah. Voodoo practitioners. Yeah.
yeah, like ritualistic sacrifice kind of stuff. That is just so outside the boundaries of anything that we know. And to the cat thing,
But you're
whether
right. They sh-
no matter the prevalence of the cat thing, it's like we
yeah.
know that they do stuff like that with those
Right.
animals. Like it's like finding a guinea pig and frying it up to them, and to infiltrate a small town sense of community like
Yeah.
that with 20,000 of these people, it definitely feels intentional.
Well, it has to be. No, you make a good point, and I don't know why I wasn't even thinking of it. But the fact that it's all Haitians, it's 20,000 of them, that reveals intent, the intent you said to undermine this community by putting in its midst, like sort of ready-made alternate community that's going to cause trouble. And it also shows that they went and got these guys in a group, right? That doesn't happen by chance. So they obviously decided, okay, Springfield, you're on the list today to get fucked. You get 20,000 or 20,000 Haitians that we've got stored over here.
Yeah, like why Springfield, Ohio? Like why that town? With all of
Yeah.
these people, like there has to be a decision being made.
Yeah.
This is organized.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, the federal government goes out and looks for places to alter the electoral map, right? Let's turn them blue by turning them black. Let's punish right wing places, but also probably because the mayor and the governor, whoever's supposed to be looking out for Springfield, has been bought out, maybe. You know what I mean? They've been either paid or just somebody went to the governor of Ohio, somebody went to the mayor and said, yeah, you do this for us, and we'll return the favor. You know, there was a guy in Pennsylvania, Hazleton, PA. He was the mayor, and he was standing up against it, and they wrecked his city, and he was known now. I don't know what happened to the guy. But yeah, I mean, he stands out because that's the only time I remember a mayor of one of these cities who, went very public in opposing this thing. You know what I mean? It's amazing that these mayors and governors, they just like roll over for it, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
Ohio's got a Republican governor. He's just a total worthless, rhino, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I mean, the cats, this whatever they're doing with the cats and dogs, it's obviously it's not the worst of it, right? And Trump, I mean, Vance has basically come out and said it, you know, that he doesn't really care if it's true or not. He's not saying it's true. He's saying it's possible, right? But it's getting attention to this thing. I mean, the real problem is that you're turning this place into a third world shithole.
Exactly.
Haitians are driving cars and running cars off the road because they don't have to drive. They're probably
Yeah.
harassing women on the street. People are not safe. God
Did you-
forbid.
Did you see
Sorry.
that thing I sent you? The boots on the ground interview
Yeah.
where they go to the DMV and whatnot. So it seems like they're fast tracking their driver's licenses.
Are
And
they?
They're not. Yeah, and they're not. They're likely not being given the same test, or if they fail, they're going to pass them anyway. I mean, this is just another extension of this whole equity way of thinking about things, where we're really just whittling down standards for certain types of people so that they can have the same
Yeah.
outcomes without the same knowledge base, without the same culture, without the same background. And it's all about this it's more of this reimagining of all things that make a society work, reimagining the DMV. Like, do we really need to have you
Yeah.
pass this test with all these different parameters to it? Let's just give
Yeah.
it to them anyway. It's like there's no rules on anything anymore, as long as you come from a certain place. And that's the other thing that adds insult to injury about a place like Springfield, is that these people all feel like they all have to do these things that these
Yeah.
immigrants don't, and these people are being treated like royalty. That
Right.
documentary, they call them they call the EBT cards the magic bank cards, because there's like more money on them than the people
They never
are
run out.
capable of spending, and they just
Yeah.
the balance keeps going up and up and up. You hear about the landlords too are taking advantage of the situation, and they're renting out a 3-bedroom to like 12 people for like $300 a head, and then now they're making like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month on a 3-bedroom house for all these people to live
Yeah.
in.
Right. And just like the business owner who says, "Oh, I love them. I wish I had more of them," because he thinks they're good workers. Because he found 30 of them that will stay at their machines. There's 20,000 of them there, right? He probably had the cream of the crop. And I was
Yeah.
going to say before, I mean, if these people settle now in Springfield, whatever virtues they have, their kids are not going to have it. Their kids are going to be slouching around with their pants hanging down below their ass,
Yeah.
playing the hip hop role, right?
Yeah.
When I lived here before, I knew this Ethiopian guy who was really cool. And the Ethiopian community in Seattle is was it? Yeah, he was Ethiopian, and you should hear him talk about American blacks. He's like the most racist person in the world. He hated them. But they were all, because they kind of self-selected from a merchant class, they were all sort of hustlers, honest hustlers who opened businesses and stuff and were respectable Christians. They have a long, strong Christian tradition. But I remember him telling me about the crisis they were having because all the kids were turning to thugs, right? All the kids, somebody pointed this out. What happens with the second generation immigrants now is they assimilate to black cultural norms, to our worst norms. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they talk about how great maybe these first Haitians are, the first group. I find it hard to believe. I think they're probably awful. But nobody realizes, yeah, but we're going to have their kids and on and on and on. And they can be really awful, you know?
Yeah. And they're just not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
We're going to start normalizing dropping 20,000 people. That's a small country.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, right?
into a town like this. And, it doesn't, I mean, yeah, the cultural rot that will happen when 20,000 people from a completely different culture infiltrate a town like this, like it wouldn't even take that long.
And the way we're set up now with the divisions and all the, racial shit, a virtuous community of outsiders isn't necessarily a good thing, right? They come in, and if they're smart and hardworking, they still don't assimilate to us. They still are taught to hate us, and they still don't have our norms. So from where they come from, corruption is more accepted wherever they come from.
Yeah.
So, it's not a good thing that necessarily that we have all these high IQ Indians coming in here. Because other than Vivek Ramaswamy, I see most of them, the ones that rise to prominence, are pretty awful. They're smarter, yeah, but they're no better. They hate us. They you know what I mean? The guys, all these Indian guys who are rising up in Silicon Valley, they're some of the worst offenders against free speech and other things. For one reason, they don't have these traditions. These are like very new, very white traditions like freedom of speech and high trust societies are not something they know, right?
Yeah. And same thing like with the Indians and the Haitians, like it seems like it'd be a lot different of an outcome to have all these different people from all of these different places coming and sort of a diverse, if you will, pool of people to pick from rather than just 20,000 people from one single place.
Yeah.
And, it is almost, if they are virtuous, it is almost worse when they're in big numbers like that, because that's just going to expedite the normalization process.
They're going to outcompete the natives. And
Yeah,
then
and they're going to be accepted, and we're going to start to, if they are, industrious and getting jobs and stuff like that, then there's always the argument of, oh, well, it's not that bad. Look at how many of them are working and they're trying and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, we need to get back to the original point, which is that they shouldn't fucking be here.
Yeah, no, and we owe, our government and society owes something to us who are already here.
Yes.
And it's not like there's an unlimited supply of jobs, and you know what I mean? And we've already got a crisis too of Generation Z not wanting to work and drug use and all of our people who are fucking up. And these assholes, American assholes who praise them and think it's just a question of whether or not they're virtuous and hardworking, are just throwing their fellow citizens under the bus. You know what I mean? Like, oh, screw you, lazy Americans. Well, you owe something to your fellow citizens. And they've totally degraded the concept of citizenship, obviously.
Yeah, it's going to be a miracle if we pull our own people out of the tailspin that we're in, let alone just constantly heaping another scoop onto the plate of people to take care
Yeah.
of, people to subsidize,
No, I mean,
people
we
to
got, in
house,
fact,
people to get driver's licenses, and clogging up the DMV system. And it poses greater infrastructure problems than just the cultural dynamics. It's going to be just more people to worry about, more people to pay for, give free shit to. Uh, you know, it's
we're importing
totally
two classes
unsustainable.
of people, and
Hmm.
it's kind of deliberate. Is that we're importing the overclass, the smart ones from overseas who displace us in higher paying jobs, and then the Haitian element, the dependent class. And I guess their vision is that we're gonna have this multiracial world where it's a very thin stratum on top of it's diverse, but it's a thin stratum of the top earners combining with this huge underclass of people who will never fucking get it right, like the Haitians and their offspring, to displace us in the middle. Old school Americans, mostly white.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a multi-stage process toward total mediocrity at best.
yeah,
Mediocrity would be the best case scenario for the outcome for this situation.
yeah.
And then the worst case is that we totally collapse into a third world
Right.
shithole, and the Western world and the modern world gets talked about as something that was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, no, it's sad now. I mean, and there's a lot of nostalgia now for the 90s, right? Like you'll see on X, people will post videos from the 90s, high school in the 90s, or, you know what I mean? That was like, I think
Yeah,
things really started going shitty somewhere in the aughts. By the end of the aughts, we were screwed. But,
pre-social media, pre-internet, pre-identity
yeah,
politics. Yeah, it
and
was a much
that's the
more
big
functional
part of it.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you've got OnlyFans girls making. We've probably already got an OnlyFans billionaire out there somewhere, you know,
I don't know
and
about
everybody.
billionaire, but who was it? Bad. Do you know who Bad Baby is? That girl from Dr. Phil. Do you remember
Yeah,
her?
I remember the name.
Yeah, she made some obscene amount of money her first day, her first 24 hours on OnlyFans, like $20 million or something like that.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Where are all these idiots who pay these women? I mean, they've already
Yeah,
got their porn everywhere. You can't fucking avoid it. So what is it so appealing about? I don't know, man. That they've got a that a girl, because
that's
they're
a
all
yeah,
over. I assume there's
that's
a
a
ton
weird
of the
world.
only right. I assume there's
Paying hot women to, and like subsidizing their finances, like
yeah,
submissive daddy kind of thing. That's a weird world.
yeah.
Um,
I've never seen it. I guess someday I'll have to go take a look. I don't know. See what it. I'm afraid. I'm afraid to look. You know. Yeah, I'm not even sure how it works, but I guess it's like live sex shows, right? A girl has a channel and she gets subscribers, OnlyFans.
Live
Jeez.
shows, and then video and photo postings, and you get access to like a premium, like this premium content that only paid people get access to.
OnlyFans. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of it I think is pictures and videos, probably, as opposed to live stuff.
That's insane. I mean, I guess I can't blame them.
And
You
I
know.
think some of it is like younger guys who just are addicted to paying money for stuff like that. But then there's these girls also have like daddies who are like older
Right.
guys who have a fetish, like a pay fetish, like a drain
Oh,
my bank account fetish. Like they get off
giving the money is part of it. Yeah.
and like putting their financial livelihood at risk is like a part of the sadomasochistic like fetish of like oh my god, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my rent because I spent it all on OnlyFans girls, and that the thrill of that like gets them off. it's twisted.
And
It's really
then half of them are married with families and stuff, right? I'm
yeah,
spending
yeah.
the kids' college funds on
Yeah,
this
and it's like
skank,
it's so
right?
devious and like evil that like, but that's all that gets them off because they've reached the end of the porn internet and they just have to like turn into pure Satan.
This is probably the logical end of pornography addiction is to end up like this.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, like a fentanyl addict but with porn, just hunched over.
Yeah, one of the Antifa girls back in Portland had an OnlyFans. I don't know if you've seen. She just got
I heard about
convicted.
her. Yeah,
Alyssa Azar.
yeah, I heard about her.
Uh,
Of what,
uh,
assault of a police
sh
officer or
what did she do again?
I think it was for assault, right? Assaulted somebody, pepper sprayed a cop or
Oh,
something.
right. Pepper sprayed somebody at a. Yeah, and I mean, she's hardly that attractive, but I guess a lot of these OnlyFans girls probably don't make a shit ton of money, right? It's not.
I think the vast majority hardly make any money and it ends up not
Yeah.
being worth it at all.
So they go and they do that and they totally debase themselves and then they document it, right, forever on the internet
Yeah.
and they get a pittance for it. Yeah. Wow. Well, that's depressing. Do you have anything to report from down there?
Not really. Not same old, same old.
Yeah.
Yeah, still the city is still dying with no plan for recovery. I think homelessness is outlawed again, but like it matters. They're not
But they're not
enforcing
enforcing it. Yeah.
They're not enforcing it. Drugs are recriminalized, but again, it doesn't matter. Like there's no coming back from where Portland's at, really. And they're still not really discussing a street to rehab pipeline of any kind, any type of a plan for that.
Right.
At least not in terms of building anything that would like be sustainable for probably 8 to 10,000 homeless people. But
And
I
they're
think it
still
will get to
doing
that point, though. I think it will get to the point where mandatory rehabilitation is on the table.
Yeah. There might be too many of them now, though, too, right? I mean, I know they're still handing out pipes and needles, right? They still have their harm reduction model out there,
Mm-hmm.
there's an organization that in Portland they will go out and all they do is give clean needles, pipes. I mean, they will hand it to people who are just already sprawled out on the ground, high as fuck, and they just give them a fresh pipe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
right.
you wouldn't want to get a lung infection when you're currently in the middle of
Yeah,
killing yourself with fentanyl.
yeah. Wow.
Got to watch out for those.
Right. Well, they give them condoms too, right? So you wouldn't want the rapist to get a sexually transmitted disease. Yeah. And
Yeah,
you could just imagine the sexual abuse and the abuse of the younger and weaker people out there among the homeless population too.
oh yeah, it's through the roof. Yeah, it's a cesspool.
Do you ever get downtown? Do you ever go downtown?
Yeah, yeah, I'm down there every now and again, either working or uh, just going to different places. But
Yeah.
I mean, I generally avoid it. It's like a shell of its former self. I mean, most people avoid it if they can.
Yeah.
It's
And it's been like that for years, since 2020, I guess, right? I mean,
yeah,
shortly after the riots of summer 2020, it went
it,
to shit.
yeah. I think like 2,000 businesses closed after COVID downtown, just in the downtown area, something like 2,000. Um, and That's
They're
not going
not
to
coming
recover.
back.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. The the incentive for businesses to start in the downtown area is just totally gone. It's
Yeah.
just too unsafe. It's too unsightly. Nobody wants to be down there. There's no reason to want to be down there. It feels creepy.
Yeah. And it used to be so great before
Yeah.
that. I mean, it was a nice little city. It's funny that the progressives, they had admirable goals around things like walkable cities, mass transit, right? I mean, they were kind of achieving a little success. You know what I mean? They were making Portland a progressive success story. And then, as if deliberately, right, it was the 1-2 punch of COVID and then the BLM riots just totally wrecked it, you know?
Yeah, the homeless problem was pretty bad leading into COVID, but afterward, it was just totally out of control. A story just came out recently, actually, talking about how the number one demographic of people homeless in Portland now are like seniors, 55 and over. That's the
Really?
fastest growing group of homeless people is seniors. Yeah, which is really, really scary and so fucking sad.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
can't
indicative
imagine.
of a problem that is beyond just drug addiction, and also people are just feeling like they're underwater with their finances.
You know, and I used to discount the idea that it was a problem of housing. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what they were saying before when it wasn't really, I mean, houses
Yeah,
and rent were too high, but you could always find a place to rent at least,
yeah,
unless you were like somehow completely broke. But now I think things are getting so expensive
yeah.
that
Even a
there
room to
is,
rent is close to $1,000 usually.
yeah, I was shocked when I came back up here because Seattle seems to be a little more expensive still than
Yeah.
Portland. Yeah, it's scary.
Hmm.
Well, you know what they're gonna do now that they've hollowed out the downtown. Eventually, they're gonna bring in the 20,000 Haitians or whoever, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
they were
waiting.
talking about it. They've
Oh
been
man, I
talking
mean,
about it.
there's so much. Yeah, there's a lot of stories coming out right now with people getting sick from these illegal food cards.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And like you see just random people in the parking lots of every shopping mall now that they're just like selling roses and like garbage bullshit.
Yeah,
Um, so there's definitely way more illegal immigrants here than 1 or 2 years ago. It's very noticeable. But I'm waiting for them to dump a whole population of people on
yeah.
us because Portlanders will tolerate it.
Eh,
They'll be good girls and boys, and um, call themselves xenophobic for daring to have instincts that tell them that this is
right.
a horrible idea.
Survival instincts are racist. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
They've been,
Survival is bigotry.
well, they were talking about it since it's been going on, since the left managed to wreck downtown Portland and empty out all those buildings. They've been talking about, oh,
A lot
now
of
we
empty
can use these for
buildings.
housing. This is housing, and
Yeah.
you're going to have. I mean, we've already got them. You've probably seen a few of them. These houses, homes, right? And, it's usually, and there's some downtown. They're like Fourth Avenue at the north end of downtown. There are a couple of really bad ones where everybody there, I don't know, it's like Central City Concern is one of the organizations that has these, and it's housing, and it's always for people with drug problems or other issues, and these places are hell. And their vision is to have those all over the place. You know,
Yeah, that's a good like layer of the conspiracy theory of the replacement theory is like you bomb us with COVID, clear out all the businesses so we have all these empty buildings,
yeah,
and then move everybody in, and then you have places to put them all in all these empty business buildings.
Yeah. No, I think I think it is deliberate, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe I can find a room. Then I can find a room. And it's funny though. I don't know how people even get into these places because they have waiting lists. You know, I knew a homeless guy. He rented a room at a place I was at back in like 2017 or so. You saw that old place.
Mhm.
And this guy couldn't handle just renting a room, and it was cheap. You know, had a drug problem and a bum leg. He had injuries and probably mental health issues. So he comes, he rents a room from us for a little while, and then he can't handle it, so he goes back on the streets. And I saw him 2 or 3 times on the streets downtown after that, and every time it was him telling me about getting beat up. You know, like one time he's got a black eye, and he's like, "Yeah, man, these people, they just, they just see you. They see the weak ones, and they just go for you. Just for fun. They'll beat you. Beat these people up. Shake them down for whatever they've got, whatever little bit of money they might have on them or whatever." And I just shudder to think what's happening to women out there, right? On
Yeah.
the streets.
It's pretty horrifying what happens to women out there. And they're all prostitutes. Every single one of them is
Right.
open for business. And yeah, probably a lot of rape. A lot of rape.
Yeah.
Drugging women, or getting them super fucked up on stuff and then raping them.
And somehow nobody learns. Nobody takes from this. I mean, Portland's maybe not even the worst. I hear Philadelphia is really awful, and that's a bigger city. And it doesn't. It's like the country. We haven't the capacity to fix this problem. A problem that even if we had all, even if the country as a whole decided, okay, we're going to do something about this. It's like, what? Okay, what are we going to do? 'Cause when our problem is really, it's a mental health issue, right? I mean, we're just producing these people who cannot function in society,
Yeah,
and more and more of them.
I think it fundamentally comes down to mental health. There's a lot of layers to it and what that entails, but at the end of the day, we're creating people who are too weak to compete in a market, and a lot of people are able to compete in that market, but you have this small sector and a growing sector of younger people who are checking out, giving up on life. They can't. The juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah,
It's a spiritual problem as well when you have people who are totally
sure.
devoid of meaning in their lives, and the only sense of meaning is to go join the rat race, but it seems like a losing battle anyway. That's a mindset that's ripe for falling in line with drug addiction, but also with weirdo ideology.
Yeah. Oh man, and some of the homeless you see, right? Some of the crazies you see. I mean, it's like I imagine like you're going back in time to some pre-civilizational, right? You're seeing these tribes, right? I mean, guys walking around and they have, the stuff they wear and the weapons they carry, right? All the fabricated weapons, right? And whole groups of them, right? And these people are just an alternate subculture right there in our midst, right? Yeah. And most of them are assholes. I mean, I sympathize with them, but most of your homeless people are pretty nasty, I think.
Yeah, I think these are people that have been put through the ringer and they have no fucks left to give.
Right.
And there was probably a good person there at some point, but all
Sure.
they care about is drugs now, and minimizing the pain that they're going through, whether that's physical,
Right.
psychological, spiritual. And there's a desperation to a person who's in that position where it's just like they're barely surviving. And that's a really dangerous thing when you have a lot of people who are just barely scraping by.
Yeah.
It's an easy way to make somebody into a sociopath. So you've got this whole subculture of sociopaths
Yeah.
who they're constantly fucking each other over. They're constantly stealing from each other,
Yeah.
scamming each other, conning each other, raping, drugging,
Yeah.
getting into fights. It's very much like a pirate sort of a culture where
That's what I was
it's
thinking. Yeah.
like what did you expect? You know, like of course I drugged you and raped your girlfriend. Like what would you expect? Like
Right.
that's
That's the norm.
bad things are constantly going on inside of these homeless encampments. People are screwing each other over in every which way. It's the ultimate low trust society.
Yeah. It's funny because, I mean, a lot of these people do it by choice and there's independence. They're independent of work, family obligations, and all this shit. But ultimately, they're thoroughly dependent on because they're going to a place like Portland because you can always eat. Like one of them told me, you can always get food, right? I mean, there's always
Yeah,
food. It's not like you
always.
can't eat in a place like Portland. Somebody's always handing it out. So
Yeah,
they are, they have that independence from responsibility, but they're ultimately dependent on the handouts. And when that runs out, and all these people are still out there, right? And, all these liberal churches with the rainbow flags start shutting down and they're not passing out food anymore. And
yeah,
all the progressive organizations that ultimately just take your tax dollars and feed the homeless, when they start falling apart because the money's just not there anymore, we're still going to have these people, and it's going to get interesting.
yeah.
I
And we're gonna have
suspect.
way more of them, and they're gonna be organized, and
Yeah,
they're gonna be implored because they're getting away with a lot more. This is a situation that if we don't get it under control right now, it's going to just completely explode once this false economy that we've built for ourselves
yeah,
really comes crumbling down. Once the housing market cannot be regulated back to where it needs to be so that people can afford things, like the demoralization is going to keep claiming victims. It's because that's really the pipeline into
yeah,
homelessness is just a demoralization process where nothing seems worth it anymore, and you just don't care about any, like a nihilism creeps in.
oh yeah,
Anxiety, depression, and maybe you have a community around you that supports you, but then maybe you start getting into drugs and you start screwing the people over around you
yeah,
that are trying to help you to support so that you can sustain your drug addiction, and then at that point you're gone. That's
yeah,
really what happens with most of these people. They lose their job, they lose their ability to support themselves, they move in with grandma, then they steal grandma's medicine to hawk it to buy
yeah.
drugs, and then they go stay at their aunt's house, and then they get fucked
They,
up and sexually assault their aunt, so they take
yeah,
out their aunts. Then eventually they burn all their
they
bridges
run out of them. Yeah,
because they're going crazy and addicted to drugs, and then there's no support network at all left, and that's when you find these people in the streets. So they're sort of
yeah,
the average homeless person has a prerequisite to be a pretty big piece of shit.
yeah,
You hardly run into homeless people where it's like what they tell you on the news, where like some single
yeah,
mother fell on hard times after their dad walked out on
yeah,
them, and she's in the shelter just trying to like get back up on her feet. Just got a new job, and like these people that are just like falling on hard times. It's not really the story of homelessness.
yeah,
It's people that are fucked up from their fucked up families, and then they start doing drugs, and life doesn't work out for them economically, and all of these things
right.
weigh on them until they could just get crushed and they don't give a fuck anymore.
No, I think we're getting people now who, from a very early age, are getting zero structure. They've got awful parents and they're just ignored. and the parents put up with them as long as they have to. But at some point, they're cut loose from even that, and they've got no preparation and no character has been built up in them. They don't think about working. They can't. It's hard enough for young people now, and I mean, I kind of understand it. I kind of understand them wanting to turn away from this increasingly empty existence. All us normies, we're kind of like, we're normies to them.
Yeah.
I can understand seeing it as empty.
Yeah, the American dream is still alive and well, and it really is. And the world is yours for the taking in this country still, so long as your parents adequately prepared you to be able to do that.
Right.
Whole separate class of people that are set up psychologically and emotionally to handle the increasing storm that's being weathered on them. They can adapt. They have backup. They've got a support system. But a lot of there's just an increasing number of people who now, for a couple of generations, have just had the shittiest parents, and then
Yeah.
it fails to equip them to be adequate parents, and so on and so forth. And I really think that we can't have the conversation around homelessness until we really start having conversation about like intergenerational trauma, parenting failures, and especially
Yeah.
how it kind of all started in the tune-in dropout era of the 1960s. That's where it really all started to intergenerationally fall apart, it seems
Yeah.
like.
No, we granted ourselves all this license, all this liberty to do your own thing, and we're blowing it. It's not tenable. There has to be some compulsion. There used to be a church. There used to be a society around you that shamed you. If you were a girl and you were a
Power
whore,
trip.
they shamed you out of it. And if you were the guy, who encouraged that, they shamed you out of it. But that's not there anymore. That's just lifted, and people are just, most of us need structure. Obviously, structure is a broad phrase, but frankly, we need a little compulsion. We need some boundaries. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we do need to bring shame back. We can't let this era of microaggressions and nerfing the world win. And
Yeah.
it's like you can advocate for a sort of semi-libertarian approach to modern society where it's like you can do certain things, but we create a culture in which it's so shameful to do those things that almost nobody does them.
Yeah.
That would, I think, be the ideal. We're getting too far away from this idea that we need to have standards, we need to have expectations of people, and we need to talk shit on people who are living debaucherous lifestyles.
Yeah.
And we need to make having order cool again. It's so lame to like be responsible and to fucking dress like an adult and have a job, and it's like you're falling for something.
You talked about the 60s, right? And that really is the problem, is that we came out of that. All of us, every one of us, because we all think we're special, you know what I mean? And none of us are as special as that. And every one of us thinks, oh, I'm better than Joe Blow with a regular lunch pail job and a 9 to 5 and a little house in the suburbs. That sounds pretty awesome right now, right? But I think we all got this romantic image of ourselves that, no, I don't have to do that, man. I don't, everybody thinks they're a star now, and social media hasn't helped, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody, I mean, look at me doing this. It's kind of pathetic, honestly.
It not just thinks they're a star, but that is the only acceptable outcome to their life.
That's the only honorable life, right?
They see, especially Gen Zers and Gen Alpha, they see young people, they see like one young person who somehow figured out how to buy a mansion and get a Lamborghini by the time he was 20.
Yeah.
And he sees this person just doing nothing all day as a means by which to sustain that lifestyle. And so they're like, okay, I just have to figure out how to do nothing
Yeah.
all day and still have a mansion and a Lamborghini. Simple.
Yeah, right.
And they think that that's like a realistic expectation for how their life is going to go.
Yeah.
And so they're really, I mean, they're really not. A lot of people seem to just not really be interested in just regular everyday jobs anymore,
Yeah.
or having the social contract of like you know you're a part of a society, you got to do something, and also
Right.
this increasing this increasing phenomenon of young people that are just going back home. And now I live with now I'm 35 and I live with my
Yeah.
parents, and that's like not a tab. Talk about shame, lack of shame culture. Like
Right.
that should be deeply shameful for that to be happening.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
there's no
not.
sense of pulling your weight. Yeah, right. Because people think that the food and the lights and the plumbing and stuff is all just there, and like they don't.
Yeah, just rendered
Right?
itself.
They didn't make no connection between this army of people who work to keep the lights on and the
Yeah.
food, the truckers and everything to get the food in your grocery store. No, that's just there, and you know, there's no shame in and sitting on your ass and just taking, while some other poor slob, you know, works 60 hours a week maybe to make it real. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, we're also living. This is one of the pitfalls of late stage feminism creating a slut culture, is that we're rewarding jobless losers as long as they're attractive. They can
Yeah.
still easily get laid, and they can still easily get partners.
Yeah.
And even if it's just casual sexual relationships, we
Yeah.
live in a culture now where the biggest losers can still attract short-term sexual gratification
Yeah.
from many different women, as long as they're physically appealing. And that
Yeah.
was not the case before.
Yeah, guys used to get married to have sex, you know?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that was one of the reasons. It wasn't like there was a slut around every corner. It was
Yeah.
throw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a different one every night. I mean, it's really the pornification of dating, this sort of short-term doom scrolling of the dating apps of have you can easily have access to a new girl every night if you're a certain type of
Yeah.
person who fulfills the algorithms of online dating
Yeah.
websites.
And even if you're like average Joe, well, then you just trade down, right? And you just bang like the girls that the Chads don't want, right? The Chads will take the average girls for a night, and like the average girls are happy with that now, and they think they're going to be able to settle down if that's what they want when they
Yeah.
get older, and they're in for a big surprise.
Yeah.
And everybody just trades down, you know. And the only people who make out are the guys at the top of the hierarchy, and perhaps those
Which is
few,
about 20%.
yeah. And
and
those
that's
few
overall.
women who are really attractive and know how to play it. But women are just ultimately so much more vulnerable in all of this, you know. Unless your goal is just to have sex, as much sex as possible, and people do think that way. I mean, guys certainly think that way. That, oh no, it's just about how much sex you have. You know,
Yeah.
like money. You know, it's like collecting money, and they don't think about there's no other aspect of pride. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have to get women under control, and it's not going to be like we're going to convince them. This is our problem. We're not going to, you know what I mean? This is their favorite slogan of the feminists. We're not going back, right? I've seen that
Yeah.
on bumper stickers next to the, you know, free abortions on demand bumper sticker. We're not going back, you know, and I
Yeah.
find that striking. It's like they're saying, no, 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 we're never going back to that. We like this world. We don't care if we're
Yeah.
dying off because nobody's
A
having
world,
babies.
yeah, a world
don't
free
care.
of shame.
You think about that. What's
They
sorry?
they like being able to do whatever the fuck they want, and nobody
Yeah.
gets to say anything about it.
Yeah.
That's a nice place very addicting place to find yourself in
I guess
culturally.
so. I guess it must be nice.
Yeah, just like, promiscuous sex, doing whatever you want, getting jobs because of your gender, uh, constantly complaining about the patriarchy while participating in slut culture. Um,
It
and
masquerades as feminism, but really it seems to me that what women are keeping score of ultimately is if I can get it, however many chads I can get to fuck me, that's how I win. Even if they're just pumping and dumping.
yeah,
If I can, as long as I can get them to come to give me one night, and the better caliber of that type I can attract, that's how I rate myself. That's it. You know,
which is how guys used to think. So we're
you're right.
essentially just taking, which is also not great, right? Like, so
No,
what we were supposed to do was get men to adhere to a moral structure where you are purposefully denying access to heavy amounts of women,
yeah,
even though that's all you think about is
yeah,
having heavy amounts of women, different girl every night. That's like, it's,
that's the
very
dream.
average fantasy of your everyday American teenager. Is to just have
Yeah,
as much sex as possible. And women have always resented that about men. They've always resented the fact that men are horn dogs and they don't know how to keep it in their
right.
pants and they have trouble like just staying with one girl, and locking the guy down used to be a big thing
Yeah,
for women, is how do I get him to just be focused on me. But it's
withholding the sex was their power. Now
exactly,
it's the
yeah,
opposite. It's
yeah.
giving it up and drawing because
So yeah, so the instead of men evolving to be less sexually obsessed than they were before, now women have become more sexually obsessed than ever, and they've just taken on the most sociopathic characteristics
yeah,
of chase and kill all the
masculine
time, and now
characteristics.
now
Yeah,
they're doing it. Yeah, really, it really is. It's a just like women very much have like a pump and dump philosophy now
yeah.
of just like casual, no commitments.
Getting
And it's
women
very,
under control is really about getting men under control, isn't it? Right? I mean, that's really what
yeah,
it is.
it's about creating an order that works for both sides of the human species.
Yeah, that works
Uh,
for children, basically. Not to sound too
mhm.
corny, but right, the kids are the ones who
Yeah,
are getting screwed in all this, so to speak. Yeah,
yeah. I think it was a huge societal misstep to give women the freedom and the encouragement to, instead of continuing to encourage men to chill the fuck out on hypersexuality,
yeah,
instead we've encouraged women to themselves
yeah,
become hypersexual. And it's not only created a debaucherous market for dating dynamics and getting marriage and starting a family, but it's also um, it's just turned everything into one big dopamine hit for
yeah.
both sexes, where everybody's just after getting off and transactional sex. It's a disaster for the future of the nuclear family. What has happened culturally with women?
Yeah, and I just think of those guys in the 50s and 60s, those suckers, the Hugh Hefners, who thought, like somebody's put it, that everybody thought that sex was going to be liberated and we were all going to have more sex. And what it had ended up was, like you said, 20% of guys have the bulk of the sex,
Yeah,
and there are more and more incels. And I just kind of resent, like, your grandparents, my parents, that generation, the post World War II generation of guys who very stupidly and naively thought you went along with this. Because feminism was one aspect of it, but the other half was all these guys who thought, oh, it's going to be a blast. Yeah, we're all going to have sex and there's going to be no consequences to us just
yeah,
opening up these age old restrictions on sexual behavior, right? That's what our time is about. Like, we think that history started 50 years ago. and lifting all these age-old barriers, mostly around sex and stuff. Oh, that's, yeah, of course we can do that. There's no reason why people from time immemorial have had basically the same, some set of restrictions across all societies. They have some set of restrictions. They're different, but they're all basically the same toward sexual shame, marriage, and all these things that are designed basically to control women, as we see now, and we didn't really know it.
Yeah, yeah. Fundamentally, like you said, controlling women is really about controlling men. You look at something like an ultra conservative Islamic culture, the way they dress their women there.
Yeah,
It's really, what they're getting at is, hey, we don't get anything done if we're distracted by you all day. It's,
yeah,
it, it it's not women's fault that they're so attractive. It's nature's fault.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, creating a society and developing moral structures is all about making a system wherein we deny the animalistic urges that are
yeah,
still left over in humans. That's what
yeah,
distinguishes us from the animals, is that we have what we call free will to make the decision to ignore our
yeah,
urges instead of just going along with them all the time.
yeah,
And you can go along with them all the time, but then you don't have society.
yeah. And we're kind of killing them. We're kind of killing our true nature. People are becoming perverse now, right? I mean, there are people
Mhm.
checking out of sex now. The sexual revolution is kind of destroying sex because so many people aren't having it, and
Yeah, and
others,
it's largely devoid of meaning now. It's become so
yeah,
casual. I mean, the online dating world is it's it's just so debaucherous, and transactional and singularly dimensional, and it encourages you, like those 20%, these guys that are which are basically guys 6 foot and over. That's the
yeah,
20%. 80% of women on all dating websites set their search parameters for guys 6 foot and over. So height discrimination becomes the most potent form of sexual discrimination, with intermingling between men and women online. And those 20% are really cleaning house, and it's overwhelming the amount of attention you get if you're in that category, because there's so many women, 80% clamoring for 20% of men. And on a site like Bumble, where the women message the men first, it can get really out of control. If you swipe right for an hour, if you're a guy that's over 6 feet, uh, it gets out of control really quickly. You're talking to like 40 women at the same time, and they're
wow,
all uh, they're all competing because they're so outnumbered with 80 to
right.
20. Meanwhile, 80% of the men are getting no matches whatsoever. And I
So
just think
we've
that's so
completely reversed the dynamic. It used to be a woman had a certain amount of suitors to choose from.
yeah. And
Yeah,
she would also, here's where it gets really, really gnarly, is in the search parameter, the leaving the search parameters in the control of women who are sitting there staring at a screen. You're turning dating dynamics into this purely consumptory activity, like looking through a catalog. And whereas a
yeah,
woman used to go out and she would meet maybe 1 out of 5 guys who was over 6 feet, but then all these other guys at least have a chance to shoot their shot
right.
and talk to her. And maybe the guy's 5'11", maybe he's almost
Yeah,
6 foot,
right.
but he just doesn't make the cut because of that search parameter.
Yeah,
And all of these guys who do not fall into that category, who otherwise could have won this girl over, maybe they're wealthy,
right. They could
successful,
be handsome and everything
handsome, but
else.
they're just
And
5'11". They're like three
yeah,
quarters of an inch
right.
shorter than her search parameter. All
Yeah,
those guys are just getting literally no action online.
no
It's
start.
really crazy to
Yeah,
think about how many great guys that are out there that are looking for a girl, and they've just given up. That's what's really crazy, is that this isn't just an incel thing. It's everybody other than 6 foot and over. is having basically zero success in the modern dating market.
And, you know, your best way to meet girls is natural. I mean, you know, in
Yeah.
social environments, at work, though I don't really approve of women in the workplace anymore. But I mean, just outside of that weird,
Yeah.
and
And a lot
like
of
you
people,
said, it's like a catalog, that
yeah, a lot of people do meet
perverse.
at work, I think, still. There's a lot of
Yeah.
inner work romance going on all the time. But that's really sort of the last organic, in the wild place for people to meet, because people are
Yeah.
not going out anymore. They either can't afford to go out, or I mean, none of these bars or any type of social gathering spaces have are what they used to be pre-COVID. And
I imagine the bars are pretty nuts now. Yeah.
yeah, they're just like, they're not, people are not meeting in person anymore, really. The vast majority of it, the overwhelming majority of people are listing online dating as their only way that they meet new people.
Yeah. COVID really sped things up too, I guess, didn't it? Like so many bad trends were encouraged by COVID and the stupid
Yeah.
lockdowns and everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that shit fucked us up so bad, man. It fucked us up so bad in ways that we can't even measure right now.
Though I am on my 15th booster, and I hope you are too. Somewhere out there, right? I wonder how many boosters you would be on if you've been taking like every. Do they still get boosters? I think they still.
Yeah, I think they're on like the 13th or 14th or 15th one. Isn't that funny?
Wow.
That people are
Yeah.
still, they're like, well, number 15, here we go.
Well, they're still out there in masks here and there, right? You know,
Mhm.
like you go to the grocery store and
Yeah.
there's
I see
always a few
people walking
people.
outside in Portland with masks still,
Yeah.
which is really, really wild, man.
It's weird how my mind has sort of just washed itself of the memory, but I worked through it, right? And I was out and about during COVID, and I just every now and then I think back to it, and I think, yeah, that was a really perverse time. I mean, some of the shit I've seen, some of the masking, right? Like I saw an old couple once, and they had masks on and face shields and some other shit. They were practically wearing the, you know, the
Masks, the two cans on it. Like I saw people wearing those.
yeah, like a full bore mask with a face shield and you know, gloves, and it was weird. You know, we all just accepted it, and some people seem to kind of like it in a perverse way. I think that was one aspect. Some people like embraced it, right? Oh, it's a crisis. Maybe it gave them a sense of, like, you know, it's like going to war when you're patriotic, right? They kind of liked the idea that, oh, we got this big challenge and I'm doing my part
Right.
by wearing a mask and harassing you for not having one, kind of thing.
Yeah, there was definitely like a ritualistic element to the mask wearing, where it became like a garb, like a religious garb of the modern woke culture that pervades
Yeah.
places like Portland and Seattle, like a hijab for idiots, for low
Yeah.
information voters, and they liked pledging allegiance to that ritualistic element of the ideology that was COVID hysteria.
Well, they keep trying to. I mean, recently I think they were trying to get monkeypox started as a thing, and I think everybody knows monkeypox is it's a gay thing, right? I mean, it's what gay guys get.
Yeah,
So
and they give
anyway,
it to their dog. Did you see that story?
no, did that happen?
Two gay guys that got monkeypox gave it to their dog. It's like a legit, real news story, not a clickbait
Oh
thing.
God.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Maybe they just got some on the bed, and then the dog licked
Yeah,
the bed.
these people who hug up on their dog and, like, yeah, maybe they sleep with the dog.
Maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't fuck the dog.
Hopefully, yeah, it was no worse than that, I hope. But
You never know.
I mean, I love animals, but when I see people like letting the dog lick their face too much or something. I think, just ease up. Yeah.
Could have monkeypox.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else on your mind tonight?
What about the AI thing?
Oh,
Are you going to
yeah.
cover that?
Well, I think I wrote
That's
something.
wild. I was reading that abstract on the study.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to read this, but it seems pretty heavy.
It's pretty dry.
It's pretty dry.
Basically, a small fraction of conspiracy theorists can have their minds slightly altered if they go
Yes.
through a struggle session that is powered by artificial intelligence.
Yeah, these guys did a study, and they're all excited. Well, yeah, they had 20% success, which is probably an exaggeration. I guess it's a good sign. But yeah, they did a study to see if they can use AI to disabuse people of their conspiracy theories. But it's funny, the conspiracy theories they list for examples,
They're all real.
right?
They're
Yeah,
all
no.
real.
So this is from the abstract. The treatment reduced participants' belief in their chosen conspiracy theory by 20% on average. This effect persisted undiminished for at least 2 months. And so was consistently observed across a wide range of conspiracy theories, from classic conspiracies involving the assassination of John F. Kennedy, aliens, and the Illuminati, to those pertaining to topical events such as COVID-19 and the 2020 presidential election. Yeah, I saw this and I'm thinking, well, it's
Notice how right underneath they said, notably, the AI did not reduce belief in true conspiracies.
yeah.
As if the aforementioned ones are not true.
Yeah, I mean, John F. Kennedy, it's pretty much widely held now that obviously there's more to it than the official narrative.
Yeah.
Aliens, there's been a deliberate attempt. I mean, the government has been saying there's aliens, right?
Well, not aliens, but UFOs. And I don't
Yeah.
know why they put aliens in there, because alien is like an extra layer of unbelievableness about the UFO
Right.
phenomenon. The UFO phenomenon is definitely real. They've had congressional hearings.
Right.
They really don't know at least what some of this stuff is.
So
But yeah,
it's-
that was, and all of this stuff also has to do with government. So
Yeah.
the president being assassinated is a governmentally related conspiracy. UFOs being covered up is a governmentally related conspiracy. The Illuminati and power brokers corrupting the government is a government-related conspiracy. COVID-19 and Fauci and the cover-up with the lab leak is a government-related conspiracy. And then they go, oh, but like the true conspiracies, that was different.
And I noticed they didn't give us any example. Okay, what are the true conspiracies that you tested out? Yeah. But it's
I don't
funny.
know.
I don't know what they're doing here. Like I said, because John F. Kennedy and aliens, those don't really count anymore. But I think the idea, like if you say Illuminati, people think, oh, crazy. But they pairing them with supposedly their COVID-19 conspiracies and like I said before, the U.S. presidential election, like to have any skepticism toward that as a conspiracy, that's fucking crazy. But yeah, the theme that runs through all of this is anything that raises doubt in the government is bad to them. And they don't really care, obviously, to what extent it may or may not be true. The thing they're combating is skepticism toward authority. This is where we are.
Exactly.
And COVID-19, I mean, my gosh, we've already had a big revelation. I mean, there's countless, but obviously the lab leak theory, so-called theory, right? I mean, it's pretty much a given now that it's far likelier to come from a lab than from an animal, from the wet market. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this almost, on one hand, the story is sort of a nothing burger, because it's like tell me something that I didn't already know. That yeah, when you incessantly gaslight somebody with propagandistic information to the contrary of what they believe, over time it can have some small effect on what it is that they believe. But I don't understand, like, this is, I don't understand what's scientific about this. There's nothing quantified here.
No,
That, like,
it's
oh,
not.
what, you slightly altered people's perceptions? We already knew you could do that.
No, and yeah, like I said in this post, they used like a turbo chat GPT. I think that's what it's actually called. I guess like a higher level chat GPT. And it sounds like they didn't program it for the AI to stick to the truth. They programmed the AI to quote unquote persuade the subject. So that's not the same as
Yeah,
saying get to the truth. They're telling this AI, this powerful artificial intelligence, we want you to change this guy's mind, not bring this guy
yes,
to the truth.
exactly. Yes, and also the AI is programmed with an algorithm to where somebody who's designing the AI is in control of what truth is.
Exactly. And
And
that's where it always ends up.
then if you pre-coordinate those parameters, and then you also have an entire media infrastructure and Google, like this thing's using probably like Google and like search engines that themselves are already curated to hide certain types of truth from people and give people another idea of the truth. So yeah, again, I don't understand what was accomplished here when the AI is just being lied to by the information sets that it's given anyway.
Yeah, I have a theory, excuse the phrase, that what this is really about is not, obviously, it's not about getting to the truth, but they're kind of training AI in sophistry, right? They've got a powerful engine here. And if they teach AI, oh, somebody's already on this job, obviously, but they're teaching AI how to manipulate you. Like somebody who's a salesman or anybody whose job it is to convince you of something true or not.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of training AI in sophistry. They're training it in how to, mind fuck you, which is the
Yeah,
scary aspect of it because we're already so thoroughly mind fucked by social media. People are already controlled by it, right? And it's like the
mm-hmm.
authorities are saying, yeah, but we don't have enough control. I mean, you know what I mean? We've got all these
Right.
people in thrall, and these people are slaves to social media and stuff, but we don't have enough control. We need to
Yeah.
fine tune it and use the power of AI now to really fucking get our grips in people,
Yeah,
you
to
know?
hyper bullshit people
Yeah.
in a way that's never been done before.
And of course, too, maybe they're genuinely worried. What they're calling conspiracy theories, of course, are us enlightening ourselves. I mean, I shit on it, shit on social media and everything else, but we wouldn't know. I mean, we would not know. Like talked about the Kennedy assassination, all the lies around COVID that were exposed. In the old world, they probably would have got away with this stuff. I mean, before the internet, they kind of buried the whole Kennedy assassination, right? I mean, it was just,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody questioned it. And it's with the internet and this kind of wild west of information. We're all out here talking to each other, and there are all these people doing their own research. That's why research is a dirty word to these assholes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like
let the
Jimmy Dore
robot do it
says.
for you. You don't
Yeah, like
you don't need your own thinking.
like Jimmy Dore always says, that used to be called reading. Yeah, you know. And they used to tell us read a book, the lefties at least. Now it's like, oh, don't read anything. But yeah, I mean, before the internet, lots of things were not easily controlled by the government and people who wanted you not to question, the JFK assassination or all these other things.
Right.
What do you think about RFK? coming over to the Trump side and saying he's going to release all these documents and stuff.
I
That's pretty
think,
awesome, right?
yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's just more incentive to kill the guy, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really sort of have this dream team of very public, fuck the Democratic Party people. I'm out kind of people coming over into his camp, and I think it's ultimately a good thing. I think that there's nobody better to put into a position of research and investigation into all these three-letter agencies and all the fuckery they're always committing than
Yeah.
RFK Jr. I think it's a good idea, but I don't know what they're going to do to these guys.
I know we might not get another Kennedy assassinated. I don't mean to joke about it, but it's
Yeah,
a very real possibility.
yeah,
Yeah. I read his COVID book. It's pretty fucking damning.
hmm
And it's got a whole chapter on AIDS and how there are plausible theories about that the whole nature of AIDS is kind of a myth, and that
yeah.
it's
That's a
not.
rabbit hole.
Yeah, I don't know, but I
Yeah,
mentioned in this. Sorry.
I was just going to say I think it's great. I think a lot of people are like anti this unity thing, and they want a hard right ticket, and they want Trump to stop placating to people who are not ultra conservative. But I don't, at the same time, he campaigning on the idea of unity and bringing people together is a really powerful thing. And I think he's probably mainly concerned with just winning at this point.
No, if I mean if he wasn't so pro-Israel, I would just love every minute of it. And I think I've been talking about not voting, but I might have to go vote for Trump
I think he should.
because, yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for the foreign policy and the fact that I don't trust him, I mean, I would just be glorying in all everything that's happening, like bringing RFK on board and the amazing, the epic response to the first assassination. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's just something else that's just so remarkable that the media that they were able to shrug that off.
Yeah.
You think it would have wore them down a little
Yeah.
that somebody on MSNBC would say, "All right, we still hate him, but you got to admit that was badass." Nobody even goes that far,
Yeah. And
right?
I think that he's nobody's dream candidate, and he's got massive flaws, and the Israel stuff is really worrying. But at the same time, it's kind of like it's still a general step in the right direction
Yeah,
of versus the alternative. And I get the feeling like you're just participating in this sort of theater that they're all this spectacle that they're putting on for us. So every 4 years we can pretend that we're controlling
right.
things. But at the same time, there's a reason they're coming after this guy.
Yeah,
There's a reason they're trying to take him out. There's a reason they're expending hundreds of millions of
yeah,
dollars trying to destroy this whole guy's world. That means that we're onto something. It means we're
yeah,
on the right track. It means this is a tool that we can continue to use to dismantle this horrifyingly broken system that we've had. Oh,
still here.
all
Sorry.
right. um,
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
if they
these
weren't coming
hysterics
after
are
him this
real.
hard, I would say, you know what, these people are both clowns. This whole thing's a joke. Like, I'd be right there with you, but I think that we're on to something here because they're coming after him so hard. That that to me, like, I'm gonna follow pretty much anybody who the federal government pursues this hard.
Yeah,
I'm voting pretty much based on the fact that they really don't want this guy to gain power, and I'm very intoxicated by anything that the government hates because it's clear that they hate us and they're trying to fuck us up
yeah,
the ass.
uh,
And there's a reason they're coming after him.
yeah. They can't control them. That's all I can think to say about it is that the big problem is they can't control them. I mean, they had Biden, who was not a real president even before it was obvious. Now they have Harris, who may be even less of an independent figure than Biden was somehow. And Trump, though his policies, what's so radical about his policies, really? Nothing really. I mean, he should be more
No,
radical.
no, yeah. He would have been
But
like a typical liberal candidate from the 1970s.
liberal Republican, we used to call them. Yeah, but yeah, I'm still here. I'm just off camera.
All right.
But yeah, they're just they're terrified of him. So that's maybe good enough reason, to vote for him.
It's good enough reason for me. Yeah, I don't see how there's a downside to supporting any candidate that the establishment machine wants to erase.
Yeah.
We're on the right track if they're trying to kill our guy.
Oh God, really though? Yeah, I do worry about the guys.
It means it's working. Whatever we're doing is working, and them trying to scrub his existence off the face of the earth is proof in the pudding.
It's all you need.
In the right direction. Yeah.
All right, I've got to check out. Suddenly, someone's at the door. It's been a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. That's great.
And yeah, anytime. I do this every Sunday, as you know. Yeah, and I'll try and be better prepared next time. And yeah,
No, it's
you can
fine.
come on next week
Yeah.
too if you like.
We should, at the end of the month, we should do a review of Harper and Will.
Definitely. Yeah.
Prep your audience for that, because I think
Yeah.
that's going to be pretty good.
We need to do something fun and funny. And it'll be a good laugh. Absolutely.
All right, man.
Sir. God
Till next
bless
time.
you. Thank you,
Okay.
man.
Have a good night.
Good night, sir. All right. That was our friend Cam. And I'll be back to say night just momentarily.
got some Wednesdays. You can go for a man's chest. One piece for after. Yeah, let's go. Yeah.